Hey guys, this is Agent33 here with another Blueprint Masterclass. Thank you all for coming. I am going to be talking today about Queen Charge Twin Hogs. It's a very strong strategy right now, especially with the new Super Hog Riders that have been released more recently. They're a very good troop to use that can counter a lot of the traps that are used right now to counter Hog Riders. And yeah, so I'm going to get into it. If you don't know me, you may have heard of me before. I've been playing the game competitively for probably at least close to 7 years now. I've been playing for a lot of well-known teams, including Space Station Gaming, Lotus Gaming, currently playing with United Gaming, so I've got a decent amount of experience playing at a high level, including some live tournaments in San Diego and Seattle and Katowice recently. So I'm going to jump into this starting with the army composition. The first thing that we're going to look at is kind of a general army, what that will look like for this attack. So this is just the troops, and we're going to be looking at around 10 super hog riders along with the normal healers for a queen charge, whatever wall breakers are necessary, or a different super troop if the wall breakers are not needed. Some balloons, which can be used either for funneling or as tests for traps for the healers, and any other funneling troops we may need. Obviously, headhunters to deal with enemy heroes, as you will have to kill all of them generally in order to get through a raid with this attack. And then the rest of the camp space will usually be cleanup, as well as a few extra of the regular hog riders, which are used to be sprinkled around the edges. Sometimes we do opt to bring a heal spell. That is not something that everyone does. It really is pretty base dependent, depending on how many other spells you feel you need on the queen charge and how many spells you have left over. The heal can be very powerful. Some people opt to just go with rage spells and then freeze and invis, and sometimes even a skeleton spell, which can be used nicely to distract and tank, especially for hard-hitting defenses like the monolith. Starting off with some balloons to funnel, where we're going to drop the queen, sending these balloons in to try to get as deep as possible for this blimp. And fortunately, there weren't any traps that were too far, so we're able to get the blimp just in far enough to pull out the clan castle, and the Yeti mites, like we mentioned, are going to get that down. Now this part was a little bit sketchy. That gold storage might have pulled the queen, maybe dropped her a little bit too far, and this Tesla that was down here at 6 o'clock made her go a little bit lower than I had hoped. But it does work out because there's another Tesla that pulls her over, so always good to keep in mind mistakes that you might have made, even on attacks that were successful. So here was able to deal with the CC outside of range of any defenses, and it was really easy to get that taken out with just a poison. Now we're able to start using the first rage on the queen, engaging the king here, and going to be able to fight him outside of too much damage using a headhunter to take out the king. Queen is pushing in, and she's going to be going towards this multi. I send another balloon just to make sure that we can get as many potential traps out of the way as possible. As you notice, like I mentioned, there really is nothing in the second layer, so the queen's only facing one or two defenses at a time. Now starting the king over here, getting him going. We could potentially even start the hogs sooner than this, but really want to be safe. Most of the time I am playing in one-hit format wars, so we don't want to risk the town hall not going down, so I want to really make sure that we get the queen safely. This is getting pretty tight on time, though. You definitely want to keep an eye on that. And so I'm going to be starting the hogs here very shortly, getting a spell down, trying to keep the queen's healers alive, and then just spamming all the hogs just on two defenses, like I mentioned, trying to keep them all as bunched together as possible, using that heal early, like we mentioned, so that we can save the Warden Tome for the core, where there's a little bit heavier damage. The queen is coming under some fire, so got to pay attention to a lot of things at once. Just using the queen ability to take down the monolith, using the tome as we go into the core and get all that damage. And the king was able to take out the enemy queen. And really at this point, there's not much base left. You see how little time there is, even though there's still 20% of the base left. It does clean up very quickly. We're using those hogs that we saved along with the headhunters, because the king did kill the enemy queen. We were able to use the headhunters for cleanup as well. Just dropping troops around the outside, cleaning up the back end very quickly here, and we are able to get through the attack. pretty quickly at the end, but time was a little close and didn't need the warden ability, or sorry, the royal champion ability or the free sword. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and look at the last style of base here. Is going to be an anti 2-star base. So we did quite a few different angles just because we wanted to find the best option for the style of base. This is definitely not a base that I would recommend using this strategy on regularly. There are just better ways to take advantage of these big open style bases with a centralized town hall. There are risks for a 1-star for sure if you don't do it right. But we will show one just to give an example of how you might want to approach this style of base. So this base in particular is really tough for Queen Charge. Notice there's single target Infernos, there's a rage spell in the core that's got all 4 ground expos in the core. So there's just so much damage protecting this town hall, and that's the goal of the base, is to really make the town hall difficult to get. And we really need to be very careful when we're approaching this style of base because there is a risk for a 1-star, and it just generally can be pretty tough for the Super Hogs to get through. But with good execution and pushing the Queen to the core, keeping her alive, and using her mutual tanking with the Hogs where they can tank for each other, it can still work. So I'm going to go ahead and start this attack. And again, using the Hog Rider to pull the clan castle out here, raging her up. She's only having to shoot the clan castle under 1 point defense, and so she's going to be able to, unfortunately she does step briefly into the range of the single, but because it doesn't really have very good range, she's going to be able to step out of it. Again, we used the flinger earlier. I was zoomed out, so I did not see where that was when that was dropped, but did exactly as we mentioned in the plan, using the freeze spell just in time to take out the queen, having the king come in up here, and he's going to be working his way down. We have a couple of balloons that we're going to be able to also hopefully remember to use, and the wall breaker coming in. She's going to fight the enemy king. She's got a lot of damage on her, so definitely need a headhunter in there to help. Fortunately, the king is tanking an eagle. The queen's working her way in. She's going to step up, and then shortly she will be able to step in. Really have to be focusing on our execution here, using the free spell when needed, avoiding triggering that rage tower. Now that we've got her, we know she's going to be able to kill this single target Inferno tower. We are going to send in the Hogs from 12 o'clock, trying to make sure that we can get good tome value here, trying to keep the queen alive, just popping her ability. The Hogs did take a lot of damage there, unfortunately, from that rage scatter shot, but going to use the tome, getting through the bomb tower, and now even though the Hogs are dying pretty quickly, we do have them splitting and still just serving as a distraction, trying to keep the queen alive for as long as possible in this core, while the monolith is distracted on pets, on whatever we can get it to target that's not our heroes, so that the heroes can live as long as possible. We're going to go ahead and use an invisibility spell in the core to keep both the queen and the royal champion alive. The royal champion, unfortunately, just is outside the invisibility spell that we dropped, but because we were able to execute well enough, we have everything just like we had planned, kind of collapsing in together. And again, this is a very tough base, so it still is, I would say, a relatively comfortable triple. We still have the queen with healers, we still have the warden, we still have troops coming out of the CC, but this is pretty close and it went pretty well overall, so this is why I wouldn't generally recommend this strategy, because if one little thing goes wrong, if we have to pop ability early, or if we mess up a spell, or if we do something else wrong, it can definitely go wrong in a hurry. So I would recommend generally avoiding it, but it is still possible to use the Queen Charge Twin Hogs on these anti-2-star bases. Again, thank you so much for listening to this masterclass. I hope I was able to give you some good ideas on how to approach bases with the Queen Charge Twin Hog attack and use it in your own wars and legends hits.